Do you let your age hold you back? Do you think you're too old to start new projects, to start new ventures? Or do you think that you're late, that you're a certain age and you should have had certain things done by now? But this is bullshit. This is just what society tells us we need to do. But we're not our age. Age is a number. Just because you're here a certain number of years doesn't mean that you're old. You are as old as you make yourself, as old as you feel. Age is only a number, and you can stay young as long as possible if you just believe it. My name is Angela Cleary. I'm a feminine empowerment coach, and I specialise in healing after narcissistic abuse. Society tells us we need to have everything done at this stage. You have to have this done by then. You have to be married before you're 30. You have to have kids before you're 30. You have to build your house before you're 30. You have to have your life sorted before you're 30. And this makes people settle in life. This makes people rush into things that they don't want to fucking do, and ends up, rushing into marriage, rushing into doing the happy ever after. But you can have that happy ever after at any stage of your life. You don't have to rush into it before 30. And a lot of the times people rush into it before 30, they regret it. They have resentment because they had other dreams that they wanted to follow, and then they get into later life and they think they're too fucking old. Do you know what I mean? People are afraid to start new things. It's like, oh, I'm too old to start that. I'm too old to do a new venture. I'm too old for that. Age is only a number. It bugs me. I've lived the old life when I was in my 20s, thinking that's what I was supposed to do or what was going to make me happy. And I was miserable. I lived with a narcissistic, verbally abusive man who's 17 years older than me, an alcoholic, in my 20s. And I lived that old, depressing life. I drank excessively, because if you can't beat him, join him. And I spent most of my weekends asleep on the couch, drunk. I looked old in my 20s because I didn't look after myself. I was overweight, and with the drink and the smoking that I was doing, I didn't look like I was in my 20s. I looked like I was nearly 40. You know what I mean? And now, since my 30s, I look like I'm in my 20s. Do you know what I mean? Because I look after myself and I'm happier and I'm healthier. And, I do things now that I would have done in my 20s if I was single. I actually have adventures and fun now, and I'm starting my life now. They say life begins at 40, life begins at 30, life begins whatever age you fucking want it to begin. And that's a fact. Age is only a number. I'll give you an example. There's a movie called Rainbow Land. It's a documentary about an older man in his 70s spiritually awakening and finding his life purpose. Do you think he got, he had obstacles in the way? Do you think that people tried to defer him from doing that? Of course they did. But he pushed through. He didn't let his age stop him. And that's the thing, we think because we're a certain age that we have to stop. We think because we're a certain age that we have to do a certain thing. We think by a certain age that we need to look a certain way. And this is another thing, back in the fucking day, women, when they reached fucking 18 to 20, were married, right? And then they were like, you can't wear a short skirt anymore because you have to look a certain way. There was women in their 20s and 30s that looked like what my granny looked like when she was in her 70s, because they had to conform to society. They had to conform to what to wear, how to dress. You know what I mean? And I've seen this with women as well. They're buying these dresses, and it's just like, are you buying that dress because you're a certain age, or are you buying that dress because you like it? We can wear whatever the fuck we want till whatever age we want. We don't have to conform to what society tells us is right. Society is full of shit, and life expectancy has changed. So back in the day, they lived that way because, they were dying younger. But we're not like that anymore. If you saw a picture of a 30-year-old woman back 50 years ago and a 30-year-old woman now, you would think one was 70 and one was 20. That's what you would think. Because women were conforming. People were conforming to society's rules. And this is the thing with the rules or the lies. if somebody tells you something, you're going to fucking believe it. So, you know, we're being told older women can't have men or have children. We're being told that menopause creeps in at 40. Bullshit. If you're told something, you're going to sit there worrying about it and going, oh my God, I'm getting old. And you're going to concentrate on that, and then you're going to attract that into your system quicker. You know, I've seen women in their 30s, 40s, 50s have children and they've been healthy because it's mindset. If you're healthy, you can do what you want until when you want. You know, and I remember this documentary years ago. You know, say when a person gets older, we mollycoddle them. We are like, oh, she's don't do that, I'll do that for you. And when we start to mollycoddle an older person too early, they seize up quicker. They get older quicker because we're treating them old. They did this documentary back in the 80s, and they took elderly people out of a nursing home, put them into a house, and made them fend for themselves. Now, at first, this was difficult because they were all seized up. They were stiff. They were achy. And it was hard for them to fend for themselves again because they'd become so codependent on their carers. And after a few weeks, or I don't know how long it was, but after a while of being in the house, fending for themselves again, they felt younger. They felt like they could actually, their joints were opening up, that they could actually move better. You know what I mean? If you leave a car there, it's going to seize up. If you stop using something, it's going to seize up. If you think you're too old to do something, you're going to fucking seize up. And that's what it is like. You know, this bullshit of like, you know, do this before you're 30, or you can't do this because you're that age. That's fucking, I want to go to the playground. I'm 36 years of age and I want to go to the fucking playground. Does that make me wrong? No. And I go to the cinema and I watch kiddie movies because you have to watch the kiddie movies in the cinema. I feel like a big child. I'm an old soul who's young at heart. So like, I feel like I'm in my 20s, but I have wisdom beyond my years. You know, I've been on this planet before. You know, internally, I have an older mind, but I have a younger heart. You know what I mean? And like, you know, as I said, I lived my old life in my 20s. You know, I conformed to that long-term relationship thinking this was my happy ever after and this is what I want for my life. And it turns out it wasn't, because I was so unhappy and I was verbally abused and I went through a lot of trauma. You know, and now I'm happier, healthier, I look after myself, I look and feel younger, and I'm starting my life again because, you know, my 20s was taken away from toxic relationships. And, you know, I'm grateful now that I get to relive my 20s with a wise head, because if I lived my 20s in my 20s, it probably wouldn't have worked out very well. But, you know, what I'm trying to say is, like, we don't have to conform just because of a number. And that's what age is. Age is a number. Just because we're, you know, a certain age doesn't make us a certain thing. You know, we have to fit it. We're being forced to fit into this box, this category, because this is what society tells us to do. But like, I have friends in their 20s. I have friends in their 60s. I have friends in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. I get on with all ages because I am all ages. And that's the way, I know that sounds a bit weird, but internally, and I can get on with anyone because I understand them. And because I'm a good soul, and I click with everyone. And people click with me. And even, you know, older people click with me. And I've seen older people change around me in a sense. You know, whereas some older people would have judged my tattoos and piercings. And I've had older people actually ask me about them out of curiosity and not judgment. Because they see I'm a pure soul and they're like, why are you this way? You know, that kind of way. They're curious about me. And that's the beauty of it. We should be able to be around people of all ages. Why are we forced to conform into a certain age bracket or a certain age group? You know what I mean? People are like, oh, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't do that, or, you know, you're too old to do that, or you're too old to wear that. Bullshit. age is only a fucking number, and we are as young as we want to be if we might mind ourselves. You know what I mean? And like, you know, this shit of like getting to a certain age and it's like, oh, this is to be expected now, you know, I'm getting old. You keep saying you're getting old, you're going to get fucking old. Like, you know, what is old? You know what I mean? When I remember when I was like in my teens, you know, and I used to think people in their late 30s and 40s were old. You know, we all did that. Then we get to our 30s and we're like, we're not fucking old. You know what I mean? So we're looking back and it's like, Jesus Christ, you know, like we have this idea of, you know, age. We have this idea that, you know, when we're in our teens or whatever, that late 30s, 40s is old because we're supposed to have everything done before we're 30. How the fuck are we supposed to get anything done before we're 30? We're not fucking ready. Seriously, like, you're supposed to have your whole life mapped out by the time you're 18 before you go to college and decide what you want to do in college. You know, I didn't go to college and I learned street smarts and I'm happy with that. But, like, we're supposed to know what to do with our whole life by 18. We're supposed to know what we're going to do, who we're going to marry, how we're going to settle down, build that fucking house, have those kids. Jesus, like, I didn't even know the meaning of life till I was, like, at least 32 or 3. I started awakening when I was 30. You know, I started to see beyond the brainwashing, the bullshit, the conformity of society. You know what I mean? I started to see the truth. And like, that's the thing, like, you know, we're like, you know, how are you supposed to get it done before you're 30? You're still learning about yourself in your 20s. You don't even know who you fucking really are until you're at least 30. And, you know, it took me till, you know, the last 6 years to get to know who I truly was, to understand the workings of my mind and my soul. You know what I mean? And like, now that I know who I am and I've found myself, you know, I can happily, you know, reach for the things that I want to reach for. But when you're in your 20s, you're like literally still only a fucking child. Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that, like, you know, you're still learning, you're still naive, you're still getting to grips with the world and yourself. You know what I mean? And how are we supposed to get it all done before 30? And as I said, I've seen people marrying before they're 30 and they're marrying too early. They're settling for somebody who's not their person, but who looks like good person on paper. They're having kids, and I think all kids are miracles anyway. So, like, you know, this is good. This is all supposed to happen. But, like, when you marry too early, when you settle down too early, when you don't live your life and, you know, have those adventures when you want to, and you're forced to settle down because society wants you to, by the time you get to 35, 40, you're kind of going, you're like, I want to get out of this. You know, you're not happy. You've got everything you've ever wanted, which is the house, the family, and the job. And yet you're unhappy, you're unsettled because you haven't discovered yourself. This is why, like, I don't believe it's a midlife crisis. It's a fucking awakening. This is what happens to people when they settle too early, when they go for the life that society wants. They have a midlife crisis. In other words, they wake up to the truth that they're not fucking happy and they went for something that was unsatisfactory. Now, as I said, everything happens, you know, it happens in alignment. So, you know, all families are miracles, any kids are miracles. But, you know, when we settle too early, something is going to hit, the shit is going to hit the fan in some way to wake you up to the fact that you're not happy, that you didn't follow the path that was true for you, the authentic path. And this is because of age. We're in such a rush in our 20s to get to this destination before we're 30. And then we get to 30, and if we don't do it the way society does it, we freak out. We're like, oh my God, I'm late. All my friends are getting married. All my friends are having kids. Why am I the only one who's not doing it? And to be quite honest with you, that never affected me because I came out of 2 toxic relationships in my 20s. And in my early 30s, everyone around me was settling down and getting married. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm fucking free. Genuinely, because it was just like, you know, I was happy for them. But at that time in my early 30s, I wasn't, after being in such toxic, I suppose, suffocation in those relationships, I enjoyed my freedom. I remember even saying, like, I was around, I don't know, 29 or something, and I said to a workmate that, you know, right now, my dream is not to settle down and get married and have a fucking house. My dream is to fucking travel and to find myself again, to have adventures, to relive my 20s. Do you know, that was my goal. And like, you know, I could see it with his face. He was so confused. Do you know, he was confused as to why I was feeling that way. But yeah, he was married with kids, and, you know, he didn't seem satisfied with his life. You know, and he was looking at me as if I was weird. I'm like, hello, you know, this is what's wrong. Like, we're doing these things because we think we have to do them by a certain age. And then we're not doing these things because we think we're too old to do this shit. But age is only a number. If this guy in his 70s can spiritually awaken and find his life purpose and persevere through the bullshit, age won't stop you. You know, you can be as young as you want if you keep healthy. This is the thing. If you're like, oh my God, I'm getting old, I'm just going to go with it. This is the thing with older men as well. It's like, oh, I'm in my 30s or 40s now. It's only natural for me to get a beer belly. If you're lazy. Sorry, but like, you know, this is why men let themselves go. It's like, oh, I'm at this age now, so it's okay for me to lose myself. That's what society told you. It's society told you you're allowed to get, you know, unhealthy and let yourself go. No. You can stay as young and fit as long as possible. Do you know what I mean? You can be as healthy and as young as you want for as long as you want. There's a quote is, the secret is to die young as late as possible. So be as young as you want to be. Be free. Let that in. And that's the secret of it. That's the beauty of working with your inner child as well. When you start to work with your inner child, your child comes out to play. Like, that's another thing. Jesus, it's just after reminding me. In my 20s, my ex, because he was 17 years older than me, stopped me from watching cartoons because he was like, you're too childish. You can't watch cartoons. And like, you know, this took away a part of my innocence. And like, the minute we broke up, I was watching cartoons again. And I was just like, oh my God, I love being a child. Do you know what I mean? Like, so that's why I don't go for older men anymore, because I'm never growing up. Do you know? But like, this is the thing, like, you know, when we're forced to grow up too early as kids as well, especially if we're growing up in a broken household where we're forced to grow up very early. We lose our childhood, you know. And like, you know, at certain ages, it's like, oh, don't do that, it's childish. Don't do that, you need to grow up. Don't do that, you need to be responsible. Don't do that, you can't be a child. So we're forced to not be children early as well. And then as we grow up, like, you know, partners or people will tell us, don't do that, it's childish, grow up. It's like, fuck off, I'm not growing up. I feel like a child here, like having a tantrum. I'm not growing up. But genuinely, that's why inner child work is beautiful as well. You get to bring that inner child out to play. And this is the thing, that's what I love about seeing an authentic person like myself, is when you're authentic, when you live your life for you, this is when the childish, quirky, crazy side, you know, comes out and stays. And I've seen this with people who are living in their authenticity. They're so childish. No, childlike. They're childlike. And it's just like, I love it. It's like, you're real. And I want to see more real in the world. Stop being old before your time. Grow young. Be young forever. I swear, it's so much fun. When you don't have to be in this fucking boring box. Get out of the fucking box. Age is only a number, and you get to choose to start your life, or, you know, any age you want. Life begins now. Like, you know, life doesn't begin at 20 or 30 or 40. Life begins when you want it to begin. But it doesn't have to end quickly just because you're a certain age. You're never too old to start a new dream. You're never too old to start a new adventure. You're never too old to go to the fucking playground. Really, you're allowed to have fun, you're allowed to be free, and you're allowed to be whatever age you feel. You can wear what you want, do what you want, because you get to choose. So stay healthy, look after yourself, look after your body, and happiness, to be honest, is the best anti-ager. Because when I was in my 20s, I looked so much older because I was unhappy. And now I'm happy, I look younger. I look after myself, I care for my vessel. And therefore, my mind, my body, and my soul is youthful because I care for it. And I will continue to care for it because I will stay young forever. And that's my plan. It is younger I'm getting. Every time, like, people are like, oh my God, I'm another year older. Every time it's my birthday, I'm like, another year younger. That's the way I feel. Age is only a number, genuinely. You know, somebody asked me lately what age I was. I nearly said 26 because I was like, because that's the age I feel. And I never lie about my age. I'm 36. I'm proud of it because I look 10 years younger. You know, but because I feel younger, I almost actually said a younger age. And I was like, oh, this is because I feel like I'm 26. You know what I mean? So be you. Fuck your age. Age is only a number, but be proud of it. Be a young version of yourself and be proud to, like, you know, they say don't ask a woman her age. Who gives a shit? Be a fucking 36-year-old who looks like they're in their 20s. Who cares what fucking number it is? It's about how you feel. That's about it. That's it. There's no reason to lie about your age if you feel and look young and you're glowing. Who gives a fuck about the number? Do you know what I mean? You are what you feel. If you look after yourself, if you are happy, if you just set the intention of staying young, you'll stay young. Stop conforming to age. If you're like, oh, I'm getting older, this is going to happen. This is only going to happen because you're telling yourself it's going to happen. And that's the thing. We believe what we're told. So if you're listening to this shit about whatever age symptoms, you're going to get those fucking age symptoms. But if you actually say to yourself, "'Tis younger I'm getting," it's younger you're going to get. And that's it. So do not let your age hold you back. Do not let society tell you can't do something because you're a certain age. Do what you want, act how you want, stay young forever, and bring that inner child out to play. Age is only a number. Life begins whenever you fucking want it to. So thank you so much for listening today, and I really hope this resonates. If it does, please like and share, and please subscribe to my channel so I can reach as many people as possible. And if you would like help on your journey, please book me for a discovery call today, and I would love nothing more than to help you on your path.